don't feel, queasy or whatever, I started talking about old girlfriends and things, but Jane and I went down to share time with Robert. I think I just graduated high school, and Jane was, I don't know what, 10 years older than I was. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, for whatever reason, we've never done anything like this before. We just decided to go on a trip. Where are we going? We don't know. Somehow Robert's name got thrown in there. So we went to see Robert in Atlanta. It was a week-long trip. He had an itinerary for us. He took the time, he took off from work, cleared his schedule. He was working on his office in the back of the yard there. We helped him erect some walls. He taught me some things with that. Got to experience some things with that. We did, as Jane said in her point, very nice point, by the way. It was very sweet. We went to outdoor concerts. Helped me with some. We went to the zoo. We went rafting.
Yeah, he had kebabs marinating when we got there.
We got to cook. He taught me how to play chess. I've never played chess before, so he taught me how to play chess. Really enjoyed that, and it was a very special time. But each of these activities that we did, rafting, going to the outdoor concerts, each one of them had a different woman. Robert had a woman to go to the outdoor concerts with, one to share art galleries with, one to go rafting with. He had one for every activity that was available. So,
I did. I let that out of respect.
But I had to get approval on this because I actually took the time to write a letter and I wanted to get there. Robert slipped so fast. By the time I finally decided to put pen to paper, the letter just barely made it, literally 2 hours before the graveside. She got out of the mailbox and decided to read it at the graveside. So I left the part about the extra girlfriends out. I thought that would not be really appropriate. I figured Linda would probably be reading it to Robert, so I did leave that part out. But I just want to say it took all those characteristics, all those ladies, he found it in one.
That's right.
Robert was my hero. The way he is. He took all those combined in one. So
We found one to cook and one to.
one to
One
cover
to
it
fish
all.
with and.
Take the fish
Absolutely.
off,
Yep.
stayed on by myself.
But he was very special to each of us in our own way. And the time spent with him was cherished. A lot of times it was short, but it was always cherished. So we will miss him. And, we had a great time. But for those of you that got to go to the wedding, they said storm. I think that was God's fury. It was all in windows in the museum or whatever, and it was all glass. I thought the ocean was going to come inside the building.
Yep.
It was purple, lightning flashing. It was unreal.
God was thinking about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The blessed or cursed that night.
Smooth sailing, but it was wonderful, and I was glad to be there as well. But that was my story.
Just to add something to whatever, I was teaching at the time, and, we planned the wedding so that I had spring break right after. And that Friday, I did not tell any of my English teacher friends what was happening over the weekend, because I wasn't sure that Robert was gonna show up. And when he stood up, and he said a couple of things, and he said, "How many of you thought this would never happen?" My mother jumped up there. She wanted it so badly. She loved him, she adored him. They were just best buddies, and, I think that he probably told the story, but I'll tell it again. When, he was going to, when we got far enough with our relationship that, he felt that he needed to talk to my mother.
Ask
about-
permission.
Yeah, ask permission and let her know who he was and stuff like that, and so that, long story short for that, she told him that all she knew about him was that he was building a boat in his backyard, and she didn't see any foreseeable form of, income, yeah, right. So he said, "So I'll get a job." So, a week later, he went back to work, and, just really terrific guy, and within 3 months, he was partners with this guy. And Robert pulled in the biggest closing of a real estate deal in St. Petersburg had ever seen. And it was in the newspapers and everything. And, my mother called him one day and she said, "Oh, I see that you closed a big deal. How much money did you make?"
That sounds like something
I
Grandma would
don't
ask.
feel comfortable really disclosing that because I have a partner, and she says, "I can add." So, the wife of his partner gave Robert a book. And it was, I don't remember the title, but it had to do with marrying into a Jewish family. And, one of the stories goes that, husband said to his wife, "I don't know what's happened, but your mother is being very curt with me lately. She's not talking to me, or she has nothing to say." And she says, "Well, go back and tell me some of the things that happened lately." So he said, "Well," he said, "one of the things I can think of is that, she called one day and she said, 'I've gotta go to the doctor, I think I'll take a cab.' And he said, I said to her, 'Well, I hope everything turns out all right.' So she says, 'That's the problem. You should have said, I'll take you.'" It wasn't a week later that she called, my mother called, and he picked up the phone and she said, in the conversation, "I have to go to the doctor, I think I'll take a cab." And he said, "No, you won't." "I will be there, tell me what time." And he was there for every appointment, cause I was teaching at the time. He picked her up for every doctor's appointment, they would go to lunch together, and it was the son that she never had. And it was just a beautiful relationship, because I even got closer with my mother, which was not an easy task. She was a tough cookie.
Do you remember what the story she told at his 70th birthday party? I'll never forget that one, I almost fell out.
Which one?
We were talking about, she was talking about when y'all met and Robert came to her and.
Oh,
wanted
right,
to-
yes.
wanted
Well,
to know,
I sure
well,
did.
I wanna marry Linda, what do you think about that? And she said, well, I told him, she said, well, what does Linda think about it? I said, well, Linda thinks it's okay. And, she said, well, oh, good. And he said, well, why? She said, well, I thought you were gonna ask me to borrow money.
My mother.
That's funny.
But, she was a character.
Just wonderful, and, you know, he and my son Scott got along beautifully. They were constantly sending pictures of boats and cars back and forth to each other, and there was always a conversation about, this deal and that deal, and